The Mandalorian, the first live-action Star Wars show is here. How did the show land with both casual and hardcore Star Wars fans? Is this a turning point for Star Wars content over at Disney? And what is the show set up for its future? We're going to cover all of that and more and take some of your questions. This is our Mandalorian after show here at the Den of Nerds. We do it for the fans. What is up, all of you beautiful people from around the world? It is our official after show for The Mandalorian, the first live-action television show for Star Wars. It is a pretty freaking exciting time to be a Star Wars fan. A lot of people excited about this show. We're going to be breaking it down, man. We're doing after shows after every single episode of The Mandalorian. And I do want to say, too, this is going to be spoiler-filled, so if you have not seen the episode or you just don't care about spoilers, you're welcome here. But we are going to be getting into all of the details when it comes to this episode. And I am here with executive producer Ryan H. Ryan, how are you, my friend?
Hello, Josh and Internet. How are you doing?
Mandalorian, the first live-action Star Wars show.
Let us know.
And sorry, slight technical difficulties as I'm working with a new overlay here, trying to make it all look good. I think we've shown that intro at exactly the wrong time, like 3 different times. But that's all right. So, guys, we're gonna get right into this. I do want to say we're gonna get into some Q&A later on in the episode too. So, if you have some questions about The Mandalorian or our thoughts about The Mandalorian, please let us know. That's going to be something that we definitely want to get into. So, right off the bat, I want to talk about, Ryan, this show was such a big deal for Disney. There was a lot of advertising done for this show. Monday Night Football, all these different things leading up to it. It was a big freaking deal. And so, essentially, what I want to know, man, is how do you think the launch went? What do you think about that?
Well, I know they were having some troubles early this morning. But I feel like they figured it out pretty quick. The internet got a hold of this pretty fast. I mean, I was able to watch it at midnight, a little after midnight, with all the weird things that they had with the Netherlands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think that actually helped because it had to have at least helped ease the burden for the servers and stuff. You had to know that this thing was going to go down for a little bit once everyone woke up and wanted to jump on and see it.
Yeah, I agree. It was it's definitely interesting because I think just like when they sold the tickets, they had like sort of a set time and then things kind of rolled out a little bit early. And I'm wondering, like, is this like a trend? Is this something we're going to start seeing now? Because, in order to alleviate the stress on these servers and these kind of things, it does kind of seem like they're saying one thing, but then they're kind of allowing it to happen at a different pace. And so that's pretty interesting stuff to me. So my experience of it, we were actually all texting. You actually hit me and Al up late at night talking about how it was available and it was ready to go. There was a little trick that you can do, which, by the way, guys, if you're watching this and you're in one of these regions that can't watch the Mandalorian yet, all I will say is that there are ways around that. You can
there are always ways.
There are ways to figure that out. I mean, if you wanted to go super smuggler in Mando, you could do some pirate-ish type stuff. I'm not going to recommend that you do that, but there are other ways to do it. Just use those internet powers of you. Check out the HoloNet. There is some stuff going on. So as far as my opinion on the launch, man, I felt like it was good, and they sort of saved what could have been really, really bad, because essentially, we all watched it. Well, a lot of us, you and I and Al, we watched it at night. I watched it like 2 a.m, and then I watched it again at 3 a.m. That worked, and there wasn't a lot of stress. But then when people went, I think it was like when it was scheduled to come out at like 6 to 9 Eastern Standard, it was down. So I woke up and was ready to work on my the notes for this show here, and I couldn't even watch the show again. You know what I mean? And I was pretty bummed about that. I was looking online. I was like, oh no, Disney, don't do it, Disney. Because honestly, look, there's a lot of people out there that were like, if this doesn't go exactly right, or if there's even the slightest bit of hiccup, I'm going to freak out, and I'm going to make sure that Disney knows about it. And so
Sure.
I'm sitting there and I'm watching it. And I'm like, dude, come on, like, come on, don't do this, don't let this happen. And I didn't think that it was actually that big of a deal. I think they got it fixed pretty quickly. But what was your read on it? Did you get any of that? What did you think happened there?
Yeah, I kind of had a busy day of watching The Mandalorian and stuff. But I thought they did a good job. I know a lot of people freaked out. They're going to freak out.
Yeah.
This is a new day and age where if it isn't running perfectly, people are going to tweak. But I thought they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They fixed it pretty quick. You know what I mean? That's the bottom line.
Right. At the end of the day, like when I got back home, I was up at around 9. I'd already seen it. I like, thank God I did.
Yeah.
But I got back home at around 1 Eastern, and everything was fine to watch it again a couple of times. So all things considered, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I know it was an inconvenience to some people. I had a few people hit me up, say, I was going to go, do my early morning routine and then watch it when I got home, and that got poo-pooed. But
yeah, no, I know.
yeah,
I saw some, and I was talking to different people on the Discord, the Gray Order Discord and things like that, and yeah, it was rough for some people trying to get in there. Let's kind of shift it though. What did you see online as far as the social media reception to the show itself? Did you see a lot of positivity? Did you see some negativity? Speak on that a little bit. What did you see?
I feel like I saw a lot of neutrality, which was interesting. People liked it, and they had points that they didn't like. I didn't feel like anyone went over the top and was like, "This is the best, greatest Star Wars thing to ever happen."
Yeah.
But I did see a lot of positive. They enjoyed it, and they're excited to see what's going to come.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point. I saw a lot of that too. I didn't really see too much super negativity about it. I talked to
Right.
a couple of people about it. There's some people out there that had a big problem with it, which I find really interesting, and maybe we'll get into some of the points that they brought up. But by and large, from what I personally saw, I saw a lot of positivity, and I want to know in chat, guys, let us know, like, where are you at with this show? Did you really like the first episode? Did you not like the first episode? We'll keep a little a look over there on the chat and see what people are thinking. By the way, thank you so much, Trinity. I see you with that super chat. Looking forward to episode 2 on Friday. Absolutely, man. That's gonna be pretty freaking excited. So, considering the hype, I thought the launch was good, not exactly perfect. But the next thing I really wanted to get into, man, the thing that really interests me, and I think just us being big nerds, I think it's a fair question to ask. How do we think our boy Filoni did in his first directorial debut? Because this is something I've heard a lot of different people speak about online.
Mm-hmm.
So just what do you think? How do you think he did?
So what I got from this was this felt very piloty of an episode. Like they wanted to show kind of Disney what this was going to be. It was a basic introduction. I thought he did okay. He's not Spielberg,
Yeah.
but and he's used to the animated medium. I felt like there were a lot of points that he might have used from that. But I think he's going to do better. I think it was a big learning curve for him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I can agree with that. There's a couple of different things that kind of popped off to me with it. I felt like, first of all, the mise en scène, which is something that it's like a film school thing, right? It just kind of means like the vibe, the overall feel. How did it all visually come together? I felt like that was pretty strong. I felt like the whole episode set its tone very well. There's a lot I like in there. I did have some sort of minor issues with different things that he did, but overall I felt like it was a really great effort. But if I'm being completely honest, like my expectations and kind of like what I wanted, it didn't exactly hit that for me. Like what I wanted to see, and look, maybe this just shows that there is a big difference between sort of animation and live action, because there's some things there, and I think we'll get into some of the details in a second here, but there were some things that I was like, oh, well, I kind of would have done this just a little bit differently. and it felt very familiar to what I'm used to with his directing style in Rebels and Clone Wars, which isn't a bad thing. But I felt like my honest score would have been something like a B plus. You know what I mean? Like a B plus,
Sure.
like totally fair, but not necessarily all that great. Now, what did you think of some of the strengths of the episode versus some of the weaknesses?
Being an older, I call myself older Star Wars fan, but like I grew up with the original. I watched the prequel trilogy. I kind of thought this was a really good blend of those two. I don't know that this was trying to really save or attempt to grab the sequel trilogy. I felt like it almost seemed to me if George Lucas, he had his print. Like we all know that Dave Filoni's the
Yeah,
second coming of George Lucas.
right.
Um, it felt it had those mixtures of prequel trilogy and then that the original trilogy. I loved some, like, my favorite parts were probably when he was looking through the telescope and it was real old and gritty, just like it was in the
Yeah,
original
yeah,
trilogy,
yeah, yeah.
and it felt really good to be there, like it was kind of like I felt like I did when I, watched the original trilogy for the first time. But then it had some of those, the better CGI, the better graphics. And then it hit some good beats with me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no, I can see where you're coming from. For me, the things let's start with the things that I really liked. So things that I actually really liked. First off was the music. Now the music I think is a big thing that people are talking about right now because it's
Hmm.
different. It's different than maybe what you would expect with Star Wars. It's a very different.
Very.
Yeah. It's definitely got its own vibe, but it feels very Star Wars to me. Like it literally feels Star Wars to me. But it was so unique and different, and it was powerful, man. There's little moments here and there where there was this moment right after the Nick Nolte Ugnaught basically for the first time meets the Mandalorian, and that he saves him and all that, and he says, "I will help you. I have spoken," and he turns around and there's like this little like flute or kind of like bell thing that happens, and it has
Hmm.
this like really awesome kind of fantasy vibe. There was also the moments after he puts that dude in carbonite, which was like a very cool scene. The way they play that scene is almost like a horror movie, and the
Sure.
Mando is the thing you got to be afraid of. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I loved that scene so much, and the music after they end that scene when he's going to the planet to cash in his bounties. That was perfect. I was like, whoa, like very aggressive, very cool. Like I
Hmm.
really enjoyed it. So the music like blew me away. Like frankly, I thought the acting was incredible. Now, there's a small kind of caveat with that because I'm sort of hesitant about the Mandalorian himself, even though Pedro Pascal does a lot of great acting with the
Yeah.
mask on. That's kind of challenging, right? To convey emotions just through your voice
Hmm.
and different things like that. I felt like in that way, Dave, I think just if I mean, obviously I wasn't on set or whatever, but one of my things I would think is that he is pretty good as an actor's director because he's worked with actors so much. I mean, people say that voice actors maybe aren't like real actors or whatever, but if you look at
Right.
the way he works with them and the details that he puts into all of that and really trying to get them to understand the character, I think that's probably a strength of his, right? So I felt like that was really good. Some of my issues were really like editing and pacing. There were some scenes that felt like they needed a little bit more space. I did my reaction late last night. There were scenes that felt like they needed to breathe a little bit more. There
Hmm.
were also some scenes that felt a little too long. You know what I mean? Some shots that dragged a little bit and different things like that. So, yeah. Overall, I would say B plus did pretty well, but definitely a lot of room for improvement. Dave will be doing the 5th episode of the season as well, and
Did
so
he did he do the second one as well?
no, I believe it's not Taika. Yeah, I don't actually know who's doing episode 2. Actually, no,
Okay.
that'll be a different. But I believe Dave is doing episode 5.
Hmm.
So look, we'll get to see kind of where he is at at that point, I think we might see some kind of an improvement. Now, let me ask you this before we get off this topic of Dave's effort here. Was there anything that you would have taken out or anything that you would have added? Was there any scenes that you were like, oh, I might would have changed this or anything like that? What do you think?
I mean, it's tough to say coming, off of basically a pilot. Um, uh, you know, I wasn't a fan of his first capture. Like, I would have changed that guy. I didn't like him that much.
Yeah, a lot of people were
The blue
saying that.
guy.
Yeah.
I was like, like, okay, like I get what you were, but that was a lot of like exposition that we probably didn't need. I didn't really need to know what a toilet looked like in space.
Yeah, right.
um, but yeah, no, I don't think so. It hit some good beats. Again, it was his first time doing live action, so you could definitely tell he was getting used to it. So that's why I definitely see. I'm interested to see how the next few episodes that he does do and how it all kind of plays out and see what he's learned, because I know Favreau's gonna kind of help him along in that progression.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so. I'm excited to see. Like I said, there's a lot of strengths there. I just think that it was, and a lot of people are maybe harping on this more than I am, but they saw that there was definitely a gap there, and it didn't exactly fit. My thing was there was a couple scenes that maybe I would have changed, or I would have maybe added some scenes. I wasn't crazy about the blue guy either. Upon watching it again, and just to be completely real with everybody, so I've watched this thing 3 times now, and I'm definitely going to watch it again. Like, I'm going to watch it 4, 5 times, something crazy. And look, every time I watch it, I love it more. So my first viewing, I was like, good, not great. You know what I mean? And then I did, the reaction video. The more I watch it, the more I'm like, whoa, this is really, really cool. And I thought the blue guy was an interesting choice because he essentially has to be there to juxtapose against the stoic Mandalorian, right? And we're just trying to show that this is a badass dude doing badass things, But yeah, I wasn't super crazy about that, but really it does kind of grow on you as you go along with it. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think that's something we definitely wanted to talk about. And I want to know, chat, what do you guys think? Like, what do you think of Dave Filoni's first directorial debut? Was it awesome? What could have improved? Whatever you're thinking, let us know in the chat about Dave Filoni. And let's get into our third topic here. This, I think, is such a super important thing, man. I mean, the freaking show's called The Mandalorian. At the end of the day, any great show lives and dies by its main characters and how attached we get to these main characters. And so the question is, for me, and this is where I think I'll I don't know, bring up some seemingly negative stuff, some stuff that I'm frankly worried about with the show. What is your read on the Mandalorian character? Were you instantly taken by him? Where are you at with the Mandalorian himself?
I think Pedro can do no wrong. I liked what he did and how he did it. It's really tough when you can't use facial expressions, but I thought his body motions, in particular, with the Nick Nolte character, right at the end of that scene when they're in the hut, and they're talking about him, helping him. He kind of like moves his body back and tilts his head, and you could feel you understood what he was feeling there.
Right.
So like first episode, take it for what it is. Let's wait and see. This isn't a movie, so we can't sit here and break down and go, like we didn't like it. You have to. There's always a look at Game of Thrones and how long that took to build up. I remember watching the premiere of that, going, what?
Yeah, and then, that's a good point.
And then you kind of get enthralled in this because this isn't going to be a limited series. Like, there's seasons coming, so you get to jump on because it's going to be a long ride. And they have some good directors too that I think will help pull that out. But I think Pedro did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I think he did a great job, and there's a lot that I see some people in the chat talking about, like body language and different things like that, and I agree with that. I think that at the end of the day, he did really well. There were some really interesting moments for me that were like when he was talking, when IG got shot or whatever, and he said like, "That looks bad. Are you okay?" It really felt soft. Like, I don't know how to explain it. There's this hardened dude, and yet you see some soft moments with him. You know,
Hmm.
when he's talking about how he was, I forget the word they used for it, the sponsoring of the Mandalorians, like when they're foundries or whatever, when they're just getting
Found,
accept.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So when he's talking,
Foundling.
foundling, yeah. So when he's talking about that, I definitely caught a little bit of vibes. By the way, it's so cool that it would appear that wherever something happened to him in his past, and it was during the Clone Wars, because that's where all that battle droid and all that Clone Wars stuff is coming from in the flashbacks, and that's what we saw in the episode. Most of us had thought this was going to be the person or the girl or the thing that the Mandalorian's going to have for his job. That's what he's going to do. That's not exactly the case. As we found out, those were flashbacks for him. And so there was a
Hmm.
lot done in the episode to make us like this character. And besides him just being awesome, because he's just awesome, but there were also some moments, you know, where he gets humbled, right? You know, with trying to mount the dinosaur things. I thought that was really interesting. There's some really funny moments with the combat at the end of the episode. So there's a lot of character in there. But my biggest concern, to be honest with you, is how much can we really get attached to this guy if he never takes off his helmet? This is what I'm concerned with. If they literally never take off the bucket, like are we going to be able to get really into this character? Like, are we going to get really pumped about this? Do you see that being a problem at all?
No, I think eventually the bucket's going to come off. It's not good. I would hold that though for a while. Um, but I forgot what I was going to say. I I I don't think it's going to be an issue. I I just think we didn't get enough time because that was a pretty short episode. It was only what 30 like
Yeah.
35,
Yeah.
37 minutes of runtime. So
Yeah.
like we had all this anticipation for this thing and then it wasn't even like a 45, 50 minute,
Yeah.
episode we are used to from a streaming service. So it felt very short and to try to cram pack this first and I think that's why they're doing Fridays. They wanted to get the launch off,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
show us the character. This is what you're going to get. You got to wait 3 days and then you're going to get fuller, more in-depth episodes. So we'll definitely have a better way to look at that tomorrow, Friday.
Yeah, that's fair. And I get the feeling that the helmet will come off as well. It's just it's an interesting situation. It's just interesting to watch it all play out. That was just kind of one of the minor concerns that I have. So let me ask you this: what kind of an arc do you see happening with this guy? Is there any kind of reads you got on his character? Like if somebody had to, if somebody asked you to sum up the Mandalorian as a character after watching this first episode, like what would you say? Like what would be your summary of this dude?
After one episode, he
Yeah.
wants really shiny armor.
I mean, I guess that's fair.
I think because that's what I see, like the blacksmith is helping him forge, I want to say, better armor. And when Herzog's character, who did an amazing job, I love that whole scene 10 times over. I could watch it till I'm blue in the
Yeah,
face.
it was good.
Yeah. I just that like at the beginning, like of course you can already see in the tea leaves this kind of, he's gonna have that emotional connection with something. But maybe he's not. Like he just shot IG because IG wanted it dead because the person that wanted the bounty told him to kill it.
Yeah.
And his bounty wants it alive. So
Yep.
maybe it was just shock. Like that's we want him to have that arc that's victorious and he saves the little guy and
Hmm.
rides off into the sunset. But it'll be interesting to see this season.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so I would say that the thing that kind of I walked away with was like, this is a very hardened individual. Like,
Hmm.
he's just hard as nails. You know what I mean? And like, they almost paint him like villainous. Like, it's almost villainous. You know what I mean? Like that scene with that blue guy and everything, and in the ship, it was like, I was like, whoa, like they're really going
Yeah.
for it. He's obviously incredibly capable as a warrior, and I thought that was really great. There's some hints of, obviously the trauma that he's suffered. There was some really interesting things. I was listening to some people talk about how it could potentially be a thing where what if Yoda was there helping them on their planet or something, because we're going to get into the baby Yoda talk in a little bit here, but there's something to the reason, like the fact that doesn't just kill this thing or whatever. There's something to that, right? Beyond it.
Mm-hmm.
And they have that shot even at the end sequences where, he's in front of the floating Baby Yoda and he's got his hand kind of out there. It's almost like an ET moment where they want to touch each other's
Right.
fingers. And there's something to that. Like when they wrote that scene and they had that drafted as that I'm telling you right now, just because I know how Dave works, like there's a sketch of somewhere in one of his big stupid notepads that he has of that exact shot, and it means something. It means something about the character. I'm not 100% what it means, but it definitely means something to it. So there's a lot of depth. I think one of the best things the show did was set us up for a great ride. Like I essentially think that it totally accomplished its goal in that way, where it's like, wow, like there's so much stuff to learn here. There's so much cool stuff to explore in this show, and I'm very, very excited about it. So now let's get into some of our favorite things from the episode, and then speculate about what they might mean for the future of the show and for the future of Star Wars lore. And so let's start with Baby Yoda. What's your take on Baby Yoda? What do you think's going on with Baby Yoda? What's going to happen?
Who the hell knows? When I saw that scene, my jaw still hurts from it. Like I thought that was real cool. I know a lot of people have kind of, on the internet have said they don't necessarily think it's cool. But, this needs to be some sort of fan service. This is what's coming before the next movie. This is what we're all taking as the direction of the franchise. Like this is what we want to see, something a little darker, grittier. I'm super excited. And I know, because I was all like, is that Yoda? That couldn't be Yoda. It's 5 years. He's 50 years, like all the things going through your head.
Yeah, sure.
As you're trying to decipher the fact that, there's a baby green guy out of nowhere, because we all thought it's a boy. Could it be Rey? Like totally from left field did we see that coming.
Yeah.
But I'm excited, and now I'm excited to see when now we're going to start to get new characters that are stable characters, because I felt like there was no real one character that's sticking through yet. Maybe we know Nolte will be there, but even IG shoots him, and he hates droids. So
yeah, which by the way, I mean, like when you think about like why he hates droids, and you go back to the battle droids in his flashbacks, I just feel like there's a lot there. There's a lot there that
it's a great point.
Yeah, that they're going to sort of get into, because they made it a big point to play that out, and his hating of droids definitely attached to what was going on back then. I would love it if there's like a real Yoda connection. Now, here's the thing: we know that George Lucas did help them with the lore for the Yodas, and that whatever that species is, I think we're going to get a name for that. And Jason Ward has done some reporting about that, talking about how I believe in one of the later episodes we're going to maybe go to a planet with a bunch of them, right? And so as far as like what the Baby Yoda is, I mean, some of the things that pop off to me is like, well, you got the Imperial Remnant, okay, and you got these guys, and the Empire's dead. But those are still Empire guys. You know what I mean? And Werner Herzog's vibe and the whole scene was terrific. I thought it was great. That dweeby doctor that comes in and almost gets everybody killed, that was perfect. And that dweeby doctor dude, he wants Yoda alive. So why do they want the Baby Yoda alive? What the heck's going on with the Baby Yoda? We can assume that the Baby Yoda is force sensitive. And perhaps that's what's going on. Like, maybe they just don't want any Jedi rising ever. There's also something to be said for the possibility of Palpatine or Snoke or wherever we're at right now with people that are pulling the strings, possibly looking for force-sensitive people to put into the Empire or something like that. So, yeah, as far as the little Baby Yoda thing is concerned, I thought it was awesome. You know what I mean? Some people were like, "Oh, that's super lame. That was a stupid thing." I thought it was really cool. I was like, "Whoa, there's a lot of like prequel love in here, and you got this little Baby Yoda thing." I'm totally down with that. The other thing that I want to talk to you about, Ryan, the thing that I thought was so freaking cool, and I talked about this in my sort of preview breaking down of what Mandalorians are video last week. When he goes into that underground area on that planet. And he finds the other Mandalorians. I mean, first of all, even him walking in there, and you got that other kind of bulkier Mandalorian to the right of him. I was literally like, no way, because I didn't think we were going to be getting a lot of Mandalore lore until like later in the season or maybe even in next season. I
Yeah, no,
thought
they
this
threw it
guy,
in.
right? I thought this guy might be like a lone Mandalorian. Is he even a Mandalorian? But, with the foundlings and the fact that he takes that metal, man, you know what I mean? And think about this. He just gets paid, and he's talking about how expensive things are in the galaxy. He needs all this money. He
Mm-hmm.
literally takes the money he gets from the bounties and that metal and goes right to the foundry and literally gets that paladin made. I mean, this is telling you stuff. This is telling you something about the Mandalorian culture, and
Right. Yep.
yeah. So
Yep.
what are
Because
your
he was giving it right to them. Like he just
yeah,
did all this work, and it goes right to the tribe and the
yeah,
foundlings.
exactly.
And I missed that the first time I watched, and when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, like this is a tribe. And what you were kind of saying about like this Game of Thrones feel, where there's going to be different sections and subsections and all this stuff, like it could get deep, and
Yeah,
especially if they're going in like day one, showing us that like this is a tribe. When he was walking in and it had the mythologue. What did they ride?
yeah. I don't know.
And it
Big
had the
dinosaur
skull.
things.
Yeah, but like the skull of that was there, like
Yeah.
like so it's on this little off world. He's got his family, whatever sense of a family he's gonna ever have
Right.
is there.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much to explore there. And that was the
Hmm.
moment, like, honestly, just watching that moment, I was like, whoa, like, this is so cool. And I'm so happy that, like, Favreau and Filoni have been working on this together because, Filoni's just such a cannon head. And I think that Favreau did a great job with developing this character in this show because it really does feel like the vibe from top to bottom, man. Like, I gotta be honest here. Like at first, when I saw that it was only 36 minutes, I was kind of bummed. Like I wanted about an hour, and that's
Sure.
something like I was talking to Mark Fernandez about that a little bit too, and he was like, "Yeah, like what's the deal with 36 minutes?" And he was like, not down with that. But actually, the thing that's so interesting is like it's such a tight package that I'm super down to just watch it over and over again. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't,
yeah.
yeah, it doesn't feel like
It
it's
doesn't drag.
exactly. It's not taking a big chunk of my time, man. Which, by the way,
Yeah.
guys, my brain is mashed potatoes, so you're gonna have to forgive me if I'm not completely on top of everything because what I was up to like 4 a.m. I woke up at 9, like just doing all this crazy stuff. But it's exciting, man. It's exciting
Yeah,
stuff.
that's the fun part about it was last night was so exciting, like to find it and like, oh shit, I can get this now.
Yeah,
Like, let's do this thing. Like, I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, gotta watch it.
yeah.
It brought back that feeling again,
It definitely
which
did. It was that Christmas
and
Day kind of, like,
yeah,
woo-hoo-hoo-hoo, you know what
yeah,
I mean? Like
you're
very
like, hey
exciting.
friends, look at I'm watching it
Yeah,
now. Like,
yeah.
it brings that kind of vibe that we haven't had since you know the Force Awakens, or when like that original, like the
Yeah.
prequel trilogy was coming. Like you got excited again, and so that's it. It was really cool, I think,
Yeah.
and that's why I think they did a good job. I know rough in the beginning with the technical issues, but I definitely think like normies like me will enjoy it and continue to watch and grow with it.
Yeah, certainly. No, I can agree with you there, guys. We'll be getting into Q&A really soon here. I see a couple super chats that I will address. You can always drop a super chat in. Which, by the way, can you guys chop like on this video? I don't see that many likes. I'm
Yeah.
gonna need a little chopping of the likes on there. That would help us out. And if you got a super chat, we will answer every single super chat that comes in. If you don't have any loot, don't worry about it. Just drop your questions, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. The last like big thing I want to talk about is the Empire. What did you think about the Empire? And then I have a theory about where we're going with all of that. And so, yeah, what's your thoughts on the way they handled the Empire?
Great. When he first drops off the fobs for the first guys that he had found, and then the guy's paying him in Imperial credits, he's like, what are you doing? I thought that was a very good point, key to show you that in 5 years, like everything that the Empire had done is worthless now. So he doesn't care about anything about the past or the future. He just needs his money for now.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think they played it off. It was very cool to see that Herzog scene and watch him. Right when the doors opened up and there's stormtroopers, and you're like, you're not supposed to be here, and it felt like they were hiding.
Yeah.
You didn't really know, what they were supposed to be doing, and then they have that conversation, and you start to see like what's the bigger play here.
Yeah.
You definitely know that even though it's dead, there's still something going on.
Yeah, yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think that it was those stormtroopers look so grungy and dirty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I loved that. And I thought Herzog did a great job, dude. He was so good. And that scene, like we actually saw that scene at Celebration. I felt like it was even just a little bit tighter in the episode. I wish maybe we didn't see it just because it's such a cool surprise, like with the Empire being in there. But here's my thoughts, man. This is where I want to get into this theory. Those Mandalorians don't seem like they're just doing bounties. They seem like they are ready for something, or they're getting ready for something. And we see these shots of all of the Imperial helmets or the heads on pikes, right? We haven't seen that yet. You know what I mean? And so what I think's happening is that we are actually going to see a turn, and you're going to get the Mandalorian perhaps fighting against the Empire. And what I think is actually might happen is because I feel like he will get... This is going to be interesting in episode 2, which we're all really looking forward to. It's going to be interesting to see what does he do with the little baby Yoda, because I believe he actually will deliver it. And unless I'm mistaken, I don't think he even delivers it maybe until episode 3, according to some of the descriptions. But if he just delivers that baby and gets his sweet medal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and because we know he gets that whole new suit, dude. He gets that whole new suit. He's not going to be scrubbing anymore. You know what I mean? He's getting that Beskar, and he's going to be shiny and tough as a son of a gun. And so what I think he might do is, what if he turns the little baby Yoda over to them, gets his armor, but then he's like, I can't. I can't. You know what I mean? And he rolls up on him, dude, and takes out that cell of Imperials. That would be really cool and sort of set up maybe conflicts down the line. You know what I mean? Where the Imperial remnants like looking for him now and stuff like that. Yeah. That's just kind of the vibes I get, man. Yeah. What do you think about that? Do you have any? You got any thoughts? You think I'm right? You think he's gonna kill him?
I could definitely see that. I mean, it'd really be cool if they hand little baby Yoda over, and then he's the one pushing all the buttons behind Palpatine. No.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great, dude? Like, if that little baby Yoda shows up in the sequel trilogy, like, I would love it, to be honest with you. I'd be like, this is amazing. You know what I mean? That would be really, really hype.
But yeah, no, that seems, he definitely needs the medal.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I could see it playing out, where he gives it over and then he's like, no, I can't do this. And then, the scientist guy will start being like, ooh, excellent. Like, take him away. Like, what did I just do?
Yeah. Dude, yeah. And, I just saw this pop up. Rogue 2 says IG was so badass, too. I loved IG-11. I was wondering how far they were going to push the comedy with him and because Taika is so good as Korg, but they really were reserved. Here's another thing that I thought was brilliant about this. You want to make comparisons to Mando versus the sequel trilogy. Mando nails the Star Wars humor, and it's not like Marvel-y humor. It doesn't feel out of touch. It's very Star Wars. And one of the best examples of it was when after they blast everybody away, and they're like, we just need to open the door, and they both look over. And they look at and they see the gun, and then the next shot is
so cheesy, but so good.
And the gun is just like blowing the thing over, and then they blows. I was like, dude, that's Star Wars humor. You know what I mean? Like, that's Star Wars humor. But yeah, I loved IG-11. I don't think he's done, man.
No.
I think he's bringing him back. I think the Mandalorian's going to reprogram him or something, or just bring him back and sort of explain the deal. You know what I mean? Maybe say like, hey, we're getting way more if we keep this thing alive, and then maybe make him understand in that way.
Right.
But I don't think that's the last we've seen of IG-11. I got to be honest.
No.
But yeah, let's open it up to chat, guys. Get your questions into the chat. We'll go over anything you guys want to talk about. I will address some of these super chats going on here. Second Street Marvel, of course, dropped one, just saying, looking forward to episode 2 on Friday. Thank you so much. Jared Reinstein says Boba never took his helmet off. I saw him in chat talking about this. This was because I was talking about how I'm worried that with the helmet on there, it might make it difficult. Jared, here's my thing about that, though. Boba was never the lead in anything. You know what I mean? Like, Boba's awesome, but in most of the movies, he's serving a very particular role, and that role we don't really need to know much more about other than he's a badass. When you're the main character of a television show, like, we really need to be attached to this person. And so that's where my concern is. But I mean, I think it's a fair point. Boba never took his helmet off. What do you think about that, Ryan?
Sure. Again, I don't think it'll happen season 1, or if it does, it'll be late season 1, but it'll be a big deal when it happens. I think it'll definitely happen eventually. I could be wrong, but I definitely think it will.
Yeah, no.
But that's something I wouldn't touch it, though. I'd let it go, and because that's another big point to hit, so I would hold off on it a while.
I mean, like, that's another thing. Like, people were really expecting some Boba stuff and some Django stuff, and look, maybe there's something going on there with the foundlings and that whole idea. I would really like to learn more about the Mandalorian culture and see exactly, like, where does Django and Boba exactly fit in that. I certainly want to know about that. But let's go to the super chat here from SD Productions. He says, who are the directors of The Mandalorian? There's a list out there online, and there's just a ton of great directors, man. You got Taika Waititi coming in. You got Bryce Dallas Howard coming in. And honestly, just a bunch of great names. Let's see if we can pull it up. Mandalorian directors. Because there's a lot, and you can look at who does each episode as well, which is pretty cool. I think Rick Fumiyara. I'm so bad with names, but yeah, I think he's the guy that did Dope. I think he is actually doing episode 2. But yeah, look it up. There's a ton of great directors on this thing, man. So yeah, tons of great directors.
No, they did good with getting talent for it, which is, I know, something that's been worrying about the, maybe the movie franchise and getting good talent, but they definitely had they got some solid talent going on.
Yeah.
Now.
Definitely. Yeah. The talent's through the roof. Let's see here. Dean Millard says season 2 going to have a lot of cute baby Groot moments with baby Yoda. That's an interesting question. Do you think baby Yoda is playing a baby Groot type role? Are we going to be hanging out with baby Yoda? What do you think about that, Ryan?
Sure. You got to pull at some heartstrings.
Dude, why not? Dude, screw. I mean, if they do that, then screw.
He's not a baby. He's 50 years old. I mean,
yeah, but he's a baby. That's a whole nother thing too, right? People were talking about that. They're like, well, what the hell? Like, if he's 50 years old, they started to do the math, and they were like, wait a minute, does that mean Yoda at 900 years is 18? You know what I mean? Like, trying to figure out that. I mean, like, who knows exactly? We'll have to figure that out. But yeah, Dean, that's a good point, man. I'd love to be seeing a lot more. Look, and people love that in the chat too. Yeah. Rogue 2 says best part of the Mandalorians is that it's bringing balance to the Star Wars fandom. I would say so. I think that I saw a lot of the my contemporaries over in groups like the Fandom Menace, or people that are just skeptical of Star Wars in general. They seem to be pretty happy with it. Not everybody was blown away by it, but yeah, I think that's a pretty fair point. There's definitely some haters out there, though. There's definitely some people that are still hating
Haters
about
gonna
this.
hate.
Yep. Ooh, this is a really good one, man. This is something I want to dive into a little bit here. Jacob says, do you think the Mandalorian is force sensitive? The blurg scene gave me that vibe. What do you think about that? You think we could see him being force sensitive?
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think they're gonna go that way. That was, don't forget, this is supposed to be a Western. That was a very heavy, riding a horse, calming the horse down. I don't think that would be the thing that would be the tell. That just seemed very old school Western to me.
Yeah, I would say so. I didn't really get any vibes of force sensitivity, but I did kind of speak to this before, where I thought that would be really interesting if they
Yeah.
did do that. And, it's one of those things, too, where, look, we've seen a lot of different approaches with how they use the force sensitivity in Star Wars. It would be kind of interesting if we had something going on where this character is force sensitive, and they're really old, they're force sensitive, they've just figured out, but they have no idea how to control it. So, like, on a
Hmm.
very, very small level, I do think that could be really interesting. I mean, the dude appears to be completely savage and absolutely incredible at combat. Um, but yeah, I don't necessarily know about the force sensitivity. I would be down. I would honestly be down. Let's see here. In regards to the race being converted covered for the actor, take Tom Hardy into consideration. His face is always covered, but he can still deliver emotions. Great show, by the way. Thank you, German. 871. I think that's a fair point, but like it's just difficult. Like the acting really does take place mostly in the face. Like
Hmm.
human acting is usually done very expressively through the face. And when you cover someone up, like I'm reminded of Willem Dafoe in the Spider-Man movies, where it's like you're talking about literally one of the greatest actors of our time.
Hmm.
Why are you putting that mask on him? It just bugs me, and it makes it harder. Now, I'm not saying it can't work, but it's just one of my concerns. But what do you think about that? Like the Tom Hardy thing, we've kind of talked about this already, but you think that's a fair point?
Sure. Again, you're going into it as long as the character is strong and it's conveying the point. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I like
that's
this
kind of
point
what
here.
I.
I like this
Yeah.
point here by Robert Sinclair. He says Mandalorians were able to combat Jedi's, correct? So they must have something. Yeah, but so the Mandalorians, there were very few Mandalorians, as far as what I know in canon, that were force sensitive. Tar Vizsla is probably the only one. He's mentioned in Rebels as the one that created the dark saber. But yeah, they were able to defeat Jedi Knights because of the technology. They developed this technology, and one of the best examples is in Rebels, which you can watch now on Disney Plus, which is so freaking cool. But you can literally go and watch the Trials of the Dark Saber. It is a great episode with a character in their training with the Dark Saber, and she's utilizing the Mandalorian tech, like blasts of air to mimic the force push, these little whips that come out to mimic the force grab, and all these different things. So with technology, they were able to fight against the Jedi, but they did not have force sensitivity. Let's see here. Grobnob the troll, who's quickly becoming one of my favorite people. I love this dude. He says he kept the baby alive because one, it pays better. Two, he doesn't kill unless he has to. No force sensitivity. I mean, yeah, on the surface, you could totally explain it as he is only doing it because it pays better, and he doesn't kill unless he has to. But I'm telling you, that scene where he puts the finger out. There's no reason for him to put that finger out if he's just hardened, tough as nails Mandalorian dude. That finger
Hmm.
and him touching the baby is it means something. You know what I mean? In my opinion, it means something. Let's see here. Let's see here. Jake Brower says, yes, the one force sensitive Mando is badass, but I would really like to see where they can take Star Wars in this new non-Jedi Sith approach. And I think that's totally fair because look, I love the Sith, and I'm like crazy for needing more Sith. Like I really do need more Sith, but it doesn't have to be in this show. They've got plenty of
Yeah.
stuff coming out. We're about to get an Obi-Wan Kenobi series that is literally him as a Jedi. Technically not a Jedi, but he's freaking Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of the greatest Jedis of all time. Possibilities that ties into something with Darth Maul and what they were working on with Solo. So hopefully we get some Sith action going on over there. I don't necessarily need it in the
Right.
Mandalorian. And yeah, I do agree that they're sort of setting it up for its own really, really cool thing. What do you think about that, though? Do you think we're getting any of that kind of stuff, like Jedi stuff? I mean, technically, Yoda is sort of that, right? Or at least we think.
We don't know, and I'm a cool if it isn't. Like, I want to see something new, something different. Feige was talking about new and this, that, and a third. They have to really push this new kind of flavor with the. I mean, even the beginning, the opening credit scene, I guess, when it's, with you had all the faces flash up and then the colors and then Star Wars came up. Like
Yeah.
that felt fresh and
Yeah, it
new.
did.
Like,
Yeah.
and so this isn't scrolling yellow letters, Star Wars. This is just different. And I'd like to see that world. Like I don't need the Jedi and the Sith in this story
Yeah.
per se. Maybe unless they tie it in real nice in a couple seasons, but I want to know what's going on with the tribe. I want to know what's going on with the bounties, like the droids. I want to know about his past. I want to know about the Mandalorian.
Yeah, certainly. I'm with you on that. I think that there's plenty of stuff to cover. I saw some people talk about Ahsoka. Yeah, there's definitely potential for Ahsoka to be in it. I think that could work as well. I like this question here by Trevor Brightly. He says, "What do you think the other Mandos are up to?" It's hard to say. Like, are we talking about the other Mandos that were in the show? Are we talking about the other Mandos that are on Mandalore? Because I don't think that's Mandalore that he's on. We really, that's one of those things that we really can't, we have no idea. I mean, we could speculate about it. I know that the Empire, during the reign of the Empire, Mandalore was under Imperial occupation, but then it's liberated in Star Wars Rebels, and this is all at the turn, right, towards the Battle of Endor, and the Empire is sort of losing its grip, and Mandalore was liberated from Imperial rule. Now, who knows? Did they come back and just take over? What exactly is this great purge that they're talking about with that metal? Did the Empire come back in and be like, oh, really, Mandalore, and mess everything up? We really don't know. I have expectations and hopes that we'll actually go to Mandalore and see more of that regal, like different houses and that kind of fighting and stuff like that. But yeah, I know it's crazy speculation, Ryan. But what do you think, man? What do you think the Mandos could be up to?
Trying to rebuild, trying to get their tribe together. It seemed kind of like that was like an off-world post. So, I want to say they're farming resources. However, they need to farm resources. I guess how I would say it. Maybe they're all bounty hunters in the guild.
Yeah.
Like that. That I can kind of see saying, and that's why he didn't give them all. The guy who's like doing all the giving out the bounties, he didn't want to give him all of them because he knows that there's other people that need that money.
Certainly. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think that's literally one of the biggest mysteries, right? What are the Mandalorians up to? It definitely doesn't look like they're just hanging out and doing bounties. Like it just looks like, first of all, it's like underground. It's like this underground thing. They've got that one guy kind of keeping watch. There's a ton of them in there, or maybe not a ton of them, but like way more than I expected to see. And then, you've got this, what did your insignia reveal itself? She said that, like, what's that about?
Yeah.
What's going on with this? Like, is this guy getting adopted into the culture? There's a lot of really interesting stuff there. So yeah, I think there's a lot of cool stuff to get into, and we just really don't know yet. Let's see here. Jake Brower says, I feel like this new world of Star Wars could also appeal to a lot more demographics. A lot more casual fans could be interested in the show, help repair the public image of Star Wars. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting situation, right? Because it's hard to say. We talk about this a lot when it comes to the Star Wars and the public image and all these things. Star Wars is so interesting because despite it being I think at this point it's no secret, right? Like Star Wars is not in the best place. And remember like 6 months ago when I used to say that and people used to be like, "You're wrong," you know what I mean? I think we're all hip to what's going on. But it's also such a big IP and so. There's so much love for Star Wars. As much as there's a lot of anger and frustration and hate out there right now for Star Wars, even these guys out there and these girls out there that are really upset, at the end of the day, they still have very fond memories of a particular piece of Star Wars. And so even something like The Mandalorian, I mean, it literally crashed this morning. Like Disney Plus didn't crash. The Mandalorian. You couldn't play The Mandalorian. You're starting to be able, like when it was loading up the homepage that you could play certain things, but you couldn't play Mando. And I'm just like, what is happening? Look, I'm sure they're going to come out with the numbers, and I'm sure it's going to blow us all away because I probably played it. I literally am probably going to account in the next 24 hours for like 13 views of this thing or something like that. So I think that Star Wars, all it has to do is really just shift. It doesn't have to necessarily reinvent itself. I think it needs to shift. I think this is
Mhm.
a good first step because, yeah, I do think a lot of people liked this, man. Yeah, what do you think, man? Did it save Star Wars, Ryan? What do you think?
No, it didn't save it, but it sure didn't hurt it, and I think like I was saying before, I think it played into, the good parts of the first 6 movies, because it's that 5 years after. So it got to have those feels of what was,
Yeah.
and it brought in great things. I think the whole idea of doing the Western is great. My dad used to watch at Westerns when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and he was the one that brought me into Star Wars. So it was like it gets that feeling of, oh, if he could see this, it would be amazing. Like
Yeah.
he would
Yeah.
love this, and that's that kind of feeling that Star Wars fans have when they're young, and then they get old, and then maybe they lose it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's trying to get that back, and I think this did a very good job at starting that ball.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think that it was a great first episode, like a great
Hmm.
first episode. I'm probably gonna watch it right after we get off of here, dude. Like honestly, like it's so weird. Like I just can't stop
Oh yeah,
watching it. You know, like
I already told my girlfriend she's in trouble.
yeah, like I legit can't stop watching it. I don't know what it is. Like I said, like I thought it was a really great episode. Not really good, not great. Like it didn't quite hit like through the greatness. Like certain pilots, like when I watched the first episode of Daredevil, I was like, "Oh my god!" Like the game has changed. Like I was
Hmm.
like, "Dude, this is whoa!" Like holy cow! I didn't have that kind of a feeling when it comes to Mando, and yet I can't stop watching it. Like
Right.
I love it all. I love the opening scene, that music when he comes in and he's a total roughneck in the bar and all of that. I loved it. The dude that goes out and gets eaten by the
I was
space walrus.
I was very surprised that they did, because I thought they were never going to really show that guy getting cut in half, and they sort of did. And I
Yeah.
was like, good for you, Disney Plus. Good for you.
Yep.
Like they did it tactfully, but
Mm-hmm.
you still got it. And
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, oh, there's no way they show any of that. But I
Yep.
thought they did well.
Yep, yep, yep. I think that was pretty cool. They show it without showing it. You actually hear the thud of his
Hmm.
freaking half of his body hit the floor.
And
Uh,
because it goes in quick and then slowly goes, I was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, that's horrible. Like that
yeah,
guy had to watch that happen.
yeah. That's pretty freaking rough. But yeah, just so many cool little things, man. It really felt like a really great adventure. I loved IG-11. I love their chemistry. I really hope they bring him back and have that. The Nick Nolte character, man. I have spoken. Like,
Oh
come
yeah, I'm
on.
stealing
Like,
it. I'm
I
stealing
have
it.
spoken. Like,
Hmm.
wow. Like, just.
Hmm.
Yeah, so a really special thing that happened, I don't really know how to explain the vibe of it though, because it's not like the big theater thing. It was almost like this flew under the radar in a way where we almost didn't need it to be like that. You know what I mean? Like we didn't
Right.
need The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi uh, like in episode form. Like I don't think that's really what we were looking for, and it strikes its own really unique tone. I was very pleased with it, and yeah, I think the future is bright. We are going to do another one of these Friday night, of course, after the second episode of The Mandalorian. But we are going to leave it there for now, folks. I have spoken. Right? But yeah.
Yes, internet, take that and meme that away.
Yes, please meme it away. Any last thoughts that you want to give, Ryan, about the episode or anything like that?
No, I'm super excited. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Let's do this. I'm ready to stay up all night.
Yeah.
Just binging on Marvel stuff again.
Yeah, my body is ready. Yeah, and Disney
Oh
Plus
yeah.
is just so cool, man, with all the different things they have on there. Yeah, a lot of content, man. Even I think the '90s X-Men show is on there and stuff, like the
Yep.
cartoon and stuff. It's like, pfft,
Spider-Man. I never.
oh my
I
God.
can't wait to watch all that. But
Yeah.
and even the after I did the Mando 4 times, it was the documentary. Like they have just so much stuff that it's really cool. For
Yeah.
if you don't have it, I'm not trying to shill, but go get it. It's fun.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a great service. Verizon's doing a deal. There's a lot of different deals out there, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think that I think they did good. You know what I mean? And I'm really looking forward to episode 2. But we're going to leave it there, guys. Thank you so much. If you're watching this on the replay, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm very interested to see what people are saying. Smash like, chop like, use the force choke on the like, whatever you got to do to that like button. And yeah, as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I will see you in the next video.